what's up? I didn't see you there. It's your boy DJ Color TV. And today we're going to talk about how to repair RCA cables on a turntable. We just fixed this turntable right here. The RCA cable was very messed up, and here we go. Works just fine now. Okay. All right. So, and this turntable right here, the RCA cables are also messed up. As you can see, this one is completely missing. We do believe that it's stuck in the back of DJ Q's Rain 62. Yeah, we're at DJ Q's house, by the way, in Rockville, Maryland. Now, you might be saying to yourself, why do I need to replace the RCAs when I can just go out and buy phase? This is not a commercial for phase. This is a cool technology, but it costs about $400 for this. For about the cost of one RCA cable, if you have the tools already, what is that, like $3-4? You can repair the turntable and it'll work completely fine. And now the tools you're gonna need, first things first, the most important is a brand new RCA cable, at least 4 feet long. I wouldn't go any shorter than that. It can be RCA to RCA, or in this case it's RCA to headphone jack. It doesn't matter, it's all the same on the inside. It could be RCA to anything, as long as one end is RCA. Alright, that's the most important. And you're also going to need wire cutters, or in this case we're going to use scissors because we don't have all the proper tools. You're going to also need, well actually, let's do this big guy first. Any sort of drill. It doesn't have to be a drill, you can just use a Phillips head screwdriver, but there are 25 screws in the bottom of a turntable, so that's a lot. Next, you're going to need a soldering iron and some solder. This is to take off the RCAs on the inside of the turntable and then put it back on. And in the process of doing this, you can internally ground your turntable as well, so you won't need to put that in anymore. It's so stupid. And last but not least is you're going to need some zip ties. Only one will do. You can get a package of like 20 or whatever for like $2 at your local Home Depot. And that's about it. So you need just a few tools. Oh, one more thing. You're going to need some sort of pillow. We're using a blanket here to set the turntable on upside down. So you don't want to mess up your tone arm when the turntable's upside down. So some sort of cushy pillow. And that's about it. So we have all the right tools and we're ready to get started. Let's go. We're back. So we don't have a proper workbench, so we're just going to work right here on the floor. I've done this repair many times, and the first time I've ever done it, I had to replace the entire tone arm and everything on the inside, and I did it all on the floor. So you can do it anyway. That's my point. So first things first is you're going to take the RCA cables and your scissors, and we're going to just chop off the unneeded end. You can go all the way up if you want. I just give it a little bit of space because there's that label there. Chop that. Now you're going to separate the wires. It's way better to do this with wire cutters, wire strippers, but it doesn't really matter. Don't pull it too far apart, and then just carefully take your scissors, and don't do that. Don't cut off too much. I cut it completely off just now because I wasn't being careful enough. I'm just kind of perforating that plastic with the scissors. And just peel it off with your nails. Toss it away. You want to do the same thing on the same side at about the same length if you can. Now if you had wire strippers, you gotta say, damn, I love them strippers. Because you're gonna miss them, especially in the apocalypse. Let's see if we got enough. I think I need to cut more. Back in my hood, I have all this stuff ready to go. Makes the repair go a little bit quicker. Usually a lot quicker, but you know, you gotta deal with what you gotta deal with. Come on. Alright. There's more than one way to skin a cat, so they say. Alright, so now what you got is these are things, and you can see the copper wire around the red wire and around the white wire. You're just going to want to separate that. Just they're all wrapped around, so you don't want to get every single one of those around. It takes a little bit of effort to try to get them all. If you need a magnifying glass, you can use one of those too, because some people might need that. It's really pretty tough to see, quite honestly. Ooh, I missed one. Alright, so just wrap that around itself. We're just going to keep them at this length for the moment, but we're probably going to trim them down just a little bit. But you don't want them to be too short, because then you'll have to redo this whole process again by coming down the wire some more. Okay. Now that we've got these two copper wires twisted, you just take your thumbnail. Oh, I missed one again. Jeez. It's so little you probably can't even see it at all in the camera. Alright, so I'm just going to take my thumbnail and just pull off, what would that be, like 1/8 of an inch or something? Boom, just like that. Alright, maybe a tiny bit more, but that'll actually probably be enough. This one's a little bit too short, I think. It's better to do it on the first try. Okay. So now you can see we got the two wires coming out like that. Once we get down into the turntable, we're probably going to want to trim these coppers in half, but we're just going to leave them like that for now. So now we have our RCAs ready to go. Just put those aside somewhere that nobody's going to step on if you're on the floor. We will not need the scissors anymore. Well, not yet. Okay, so the next thing to do is to start disassembling the turntable. Obviously take off your needles or slip mats or records or whatever. And also take the platter off. Just stick your thumbs and push up. Put that somewhere. Platter can be useful to hold things too, like the feet. So don't put that too far away. Alright. Pro tip, turn it as if it's like house club style, because when you flip it, this is going to be close to you so you can easily get into the bottom. Alright, so now here's where you put the pillow down, or whatever you got, blanket, whatever. I try to make it so the tone arm doesn't really touch it, just kind of hangs off. Just turn it right up there. No need to pick it up too high. Alright, now, here's the fun part. If you don't have an electric screwdriver, you're not gonna have fun. This is not actually the fun part. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna unzip all these screws. There's 11 of the shorties with the big washers, and I believe 8 of the longer ones all around, and there's also 4 ones under the feet. So unscrew the feet. Okay. Now make sure before you start unscrewing these that you have some sort of container to put these in so they don't get kicked around or lost or something. Like especially in this room we have dark carpet and these are dark. So you don't want to put them down on the floor. And the different screws are for specific different parts. So on that note, unzip them all, unscrew them all, whatever you want to call it. Now, the body, this whole piece of rubber right here comes up. So sometimes it can be a little tricky. Sometimes you might miss a screw. This one's actually very clean on the bottom, which is unusual. You can tell it's been sitting in a case for a very long time. Oh yeah, this little piece of metal, whatever, it's kind of useless. I'll just show you what that was. It's this little piece of metal right here. Fell off, I forgot, sometimes that's like that. It's really kind of pointless, you don't need it. Alright, looks like we've got all the screws up this time. It's a little tricky, just wiggle it. Now, we get to the fun part. Just take out the power cord, put that aside. Take out this, put it aside. We don't need this for a little while, so we'll put that over here. All right, so you want to take a look on the inside before we take anything else out. Obviously the RCAs are going to be underneath here, which we'll get into in a second. This is your pitch fader. This is your pop-up LED light. And this is your start, stop, and 45 and 33 1/3 selector here. So this is the main motor drive that the magnets and stuff that make everything work. All right, so now that we know that, we have to use our drill again and take out these 4 screws. These 2 are like really, really little, so be careful not to lose them. But let's get the big ones out first. On the last repair, we actually lost one of these. Or no, one of the little ones. Last repair we lost this one. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. All right. So this one's obviously been modded before, you can tell, because there's a little piece that clips in here. And whoever did it last time destroyed this piece. Okay? That's not how it's supposed to look. This is supposed to be flat up against it. And then there's this little box that clips in there, which keeps this wire in place. So, whoever did this to your turntable queue, I'm sorry. Alright, so now we're going to take this little plate off. Usually you have to take out RCAs one by one. If you buy RCAs that are too big on the end, it won't fit through here, and you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna have to put this through. I don't want to do it because it's gonna mess it up, but you're gonna put this through first before you solder, which is a huge pain in the ass. So don't go buying fucking monster cables. Alright, as I said before, this turntable's already been modded. This has been destroyed. And now let's take a look at what's going on in here. So, what we have here is your left and your right cable, okay? And there's the input and the ground right next to each other, input, ground. And this is obviously messed up. This black wire here is the ground wire, so it's been internally grounded, but there's no reason for this right here to be bridged with 2 wires and to go to this side and this side. It only needs to be on one side. Also, something I've noticed is that the circuit board is a little burnt, and right in between here and here, the solder is almost touching. If the solder is touching, it's not going to work. If you take a look at the factory solders over here, the blue, yellow, red, green, and black, they're all perfect solder joints. They could have been done by hand, actually. It probably is, because they're like crooked. Whoever did this job did not know what they were doing with the solder, and also these 2 ground wires are completely unnecessary. Normally it's just the ground wire coming through here and coming out, like a very long wire that comes out with the RCA. When it's internally grounded, people cut it, and then they just put it right here, usually to the ground wire of the left channel. We're gonna try our best to remedy this situation, but what you need now is your soldering iron and your solder. You want to wet the soldering iron a little bit with the solder, just a little bit, just to get it kind of ready to unsolder. So first things first is we're just gonna unsolder all 4 of these joints. It's a little bit tricky, There's a lot of solder on this one. I don't know. All right, that came right up, almost. Come on. All right, I'm gonna do this a little bit differently than normal. Okay, that came right off. That's good. Okay. Careful not to get solder across the board. Oh man, whoever did this is... Okay, come on. There we go. All right, now we're gonna unsolder these janky... Okay. Now, this actually doesn't look too bad. Okay. Okay, under inspection here, looks like these are still very close to each other. There's plenty of solder here and plenty of solder here, but the red one is gonna need a little bit more solder once we are ready. And then the white one, the left one, is probably gonna need a little bit, but we're gonna make sure we don't put any solder in the middle. We'll kind of put it over here a little bit. Now, keep it on there for a second. Let me show you the plan. Okay, so that's what it's supposed to look like. Left and right here. That's going to kind of go off to the edge like that. You know, actually under inspection here, I'm probably gonna pull back this wire a little bit and this wire a little bit. So I'll start right here. So I'm gonna peel it off and cut off some more. And then, because this is so messed up, I'm just gonna unsolder this. Let's do that right now. I'm not gonna try to fix everything that whoever else messed up, but get rid of this. And then we're gonna put this we're gonna join this with this right here. Okay, but I'm gonna cut this wire back a little bit to get a fresh new point of connection. Now it's time to solder. I've already wetted the thing a little bit. That means like just put a little bit of solder on there, because you're not gonna actually add any solder. If you zoom in here, right here, because there was almost no solder on the red right, I actually put a bead of solder here and a little bit of solder on the left as well. This already had plenty and this already had plenty. So now the plan is we're going to put all 4 nodes in, and then we're going to use this as the ground, and we're going to ground it to the right. It can either ground on the left or the right ground. It doesn't matter. But we're going to pull that out of the way for now. All right, now here's where you want to cross your fingers. Obviously you can see I shortened up the wires so that they go right in place. And all you're basically doing is melting the solder that's already there onto the thing. Boom. Oh crap. Come on. Don't fuck with me. Alright, wait for it to dry. Okay, now we're going to do the next one. It dries very fast. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit more solder there. Wet it a little bit and then just come on. There we go. Oh, we're good. All right, definitely done better in the past, but working with what we got here. There we go. That's how you want it to look right there. And now, because this is too short and it was already kind of messed up, I'm going to put the ground wire in after I put this wire in. Come on, get on there. There we go. Let that bitch dry. As I said before, it dries very quick, but don't get ahead of yourself. Now I'm going to wet just a little bit, put a little solder on the end of here so it'll help it stick. Now, I'm not the best solderer in the world, so don't judge me, y'all.
but this is not really that difficult. There we go. Nice bead right there. That's probably the best one and the most difficult one, because I had to connect this janky wire that they had. Now I'll put away the soldering iron and let's take a look at what's going on. All right, make sure that nothing is touching. These are not touching. I'm just giving a little rub just in case. This is a really good connection here and here and here. This could be a little bit lower, but it doesn't really matter. The wires are already kind of pulling on it. All right, so the next thing that you need to do is you need to take your zip tie, and we're gonna see this little bridge right here. We're gonna put the zip tie around that, and we're gonna secure our wire around it. That way, nothing can really pull on it to pull these solder points up. So I'm curling it right now to make it easier to come around. It can be a little tricky otherwise. Don't grab any other wires or anything. Just pull it through. Well, this is a little bit older style, so it doesn't quite fit. You might need a thinner zip tie, but whatever. We can make it work. How's it getting stuck? There we go. Come on, get in there. Doesn't really matter as long as it holds tight. Come on. Ooh. There we go. Now we're cooking. Get it as tight as you possibly can. And then just take a pair of scissors or your wire cutters or whatever and cut that right off. So just toss that. Okay. Okay. And now, pretty much the job is done. All you're doing right now after this is just to reassemble. We've checked our solder points to make sure that they look good and they're nice and strong. Put the zip tie on, so even if this gets pulled, it won't pull out the joints. And this part that got ruined, this usually is the part that like clips together and makes sure that the wire doesn't move. But since this is ruined, it's really important to have the zip tie. You have to have the zip tie. If you don't have a zip tie, this can work, but it's best to do both. That's what I would recommend, even though these can be a little tricky to work with. Okay, you want to take one last look? That's a nice job. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, time for the reassemble. First things first is this little plate here. There are 2 screw holes here and here, and then 2 little pegs here and here. And it's best to put it in like this. But first thing is first, you need to put your RCAs through. All right. Just pull that all the way through. No big deal. Just make sure there's, you know, a little bit of slack in there. You want to, once you get the plate down onto the little pegs, there we go. I like to push just a little bit of wire in there, just for a little bit of slack. And then this is the point where you want to reassemble this thing, but since it has been destroyed, we're just gonna put it here. That's unfortunate. Alright, and time to screw some stuff back in. It's flattened out, so it's still going to give you a pretty good connection. There we go. Okay. Remember this guy? Yeah. It's gonna go right back on like this, but we gotta bring the wires through it first. So power cable, whoop. Just like so. And then RCAs, don't want to forget about those guys. That's the name of the game. So make sure you pull them all the way through, that they don't get trapped underneath like this they're doing right now. Okay. You want to be able to see them clearly through these holes. If you want to take a look at that real quick. You can see the power wire clearly through the hole. You can see the RCA clearly through the hole. All right. Everything else will just fit right together. You don't even really have to put any pressure on it. It just, you know, it's very, very well done. Now, I like to start with the feet. I just drop them in there. They go all the way down. That one's being a little tricky, but we'll figure that out. And drill them in. All right, we're back in the lab. We just replaced these effed up cords, so we don't need that anymore. And now we got the nice new ones right here, and we're gonna go for the moment of truth. Plug these bad boys in. I've got a record, we'll just take the record from the other side. This is the first time we've tested it. This is not some video magic. All right, let's see what happens. Turntable is plugged in. And we need to switch it to phono. All right.
Sean Khalifa, man. Paper. Take you up where it's cloudy, and one of them lames still
sounds good to me. We got them on both right and left speakers. If you have a mixer that can isolate, you should check it. But I can hear it, so that's it. And that costs about $3. Or in Q's case, he had the cords laying around, so it was literally nothing if you don't count the cost of the soldering iron, which he didn't have. So very cheap repair. Can take about 20 minutes if you really know what you're doing. I would give yourself an hour otherwise. But yeah, it's not too hard. We cleaned up the circuit board, we re-grounded it, and put the RCAs in. Dope, done, it's a wrap.